Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at the Atlantean Ancient Sword. So, the Atlantean is a very interesting sword that seems to be kind of pointed at paladins, but could be useful to other characters as well. And the reason for this is because it just really does kind of have some very nice stats. And as we go over it, I think you will also find that it's a fairly decent weapon for even non-paladin characters. I've actually found an Ethereal one and upgraded it twice just for laughs. But, let's go over it together. So right off the bat, you'll notice that it has pretty decent damage of 63 to 150. For level 42, that's about par for the course. It has really nice durability, and it seems to be kind of pointed at, specifically, a Zeal Paladin. Specifically because of, obviously, Zeal Paladins tend to break their weapons relatively quickly. With 144 durability, it's not going to break fast. We also have a dex requirement of 88, a strength requirement of 127, which is relatively high for level 42, but the ancient swords always tend to be relatively high in the requirements. I've always noticed this about ancient swords. I kind of look at it as kind of a silly thing because I've always felt like they needed to reduce the requirements on the ancient swords a little bit. Required level 42 is definitely a kind of a mid-tier weapon, and it can definitely be useful as you go into nightmare difficulty, which is usually where you will be by the time you hit 42. It has +2 to paladin skill levels, and that is actually very, very nice and can come in handy on a lot of different builds. It has a 250% enhanced damage, and it does vary a little bit from 200 to 250%, and that is actually the only variable on this weapon. So if you do find a 250% enhanced damage Atlantean, that is actually a perfect Atlantean. We have a 50% bonus to attack rating, which is a pretty massive bonus to attack rating. It is a percentage, though, so do keep in mind that you will need raw numbers to increase that. Basically, how it works is when you put on a weapon like this that has a bonus to attack rating, it's going to add to other bonuses to attack rating as well. So as you can see, I have 270% attack rating right now, and something like a Ravenfrost is giving me almost 2,000 attack rating when I put it on. But when I put on the Atlantean, which has another 50% bonus, you'll notice that that 250 becomes a lot more with the 50% extra added on there. So you really do need those raw numbers along with the hard numbers, the percentage bonuses. And not only does this have 50% bonus to attack rating, it also gives you +12 dexterity, which is going to give you even more attack rating, which is very, very nice. It has +75 defense, which is actually going to get multiplied by Holy Shield, which is very nice. When you use Holy Shield, you will notice that your defense goes really high at like 10,356. And when you put on the sword, you'll notice that the extra defense that it gives you gets multiplied quite nicely. So we're at 10,356, and it goes to 10,758. So that 75 is getting multiplied by Holy Shield, which is very nice. We also have 16 to strength on here, which is going to beef up our physical damage a little bit and also help us equip armor. And that dexterity that's on there, the 12 dexterity, is also going to help our block chance as well as our attack rating. We also get +8 to vitality, which is very nice for our health. And of course, you can put a socket in here. And most of the time, I think what I do is I usually just socket it with a shale rune, because it's not a particularly fast weapon. It's only fast attack speed with no increase to attack speed. And the shale rune really kind of helps out the Atlantean quite a bit. Now, you can also find an Ethereal Atlantean, and this one has 94 to 224 damage. So very, very high there on the damage. Unfortunately, the Atlantean doesn't have any special effects. It doesn't have, for instance, Deadly Strike, no Crushing Blow, no Open Wounds, and for this reason, it's a little bit of a dull weapon in terms of special effects. But if I was a Zeal Paladin and I happened to find an Atlantean, I would certainly not turn it down. I would probably use it for quite some time. It could very easily carry me through nightmare difficulty and on into the beginning of hell until I find a better weapon. Now, this particular item can be upgraded, and to upgrade it, we're actually going to need some interesting runes. We're going to need a Pull rune. We're also going to need a Lum rune, and we're going to need a Perfect Emerald. Now, the Atlantean is already an exceptional level item. And that means that when we upgrade this, it's going to go from exceptional to elite. And the stat requirements are going to go up pretty high. So do keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and upgrade the Atlantean non-ethereal version first. And let me move myself out of the way. Sometimes I forget to do that. And we're going to need our Pole Rune, our Lum Rune, and our Perfect Emerald. So we're going to go from the Atlantean Ancient Sword, 63 to 150, 88 Dexterity, 127 Strength, level 42, to the Atlantean Mythical Sword, 140 to 175, 124 Dexterity, 147 Strength, and level 73. Now, the upgrade wasn't really enough, in my opinion. 140 to 175 is actually really nice damage, but for level 73, it's not enough. The dex and the strength requirements did go up a lot, and quite honestly, that's a lot of dex, and that is a lot of strength required for a sword. Like I said, the ancient swords, the mythical swords, they all have so much strength and dex requirements. I really hope one day that they reduce those down a little bit. Now, the Ethereal version can be upgraded as well with a Paul, a Lum, and a Perfect Emerald. And this one's going to go from 94 to 224, 78 dex, 117 strength, level 42, to 210 to 262 damage, 114 dexterity, 137 strength, and level 73. So not bad on the damage there for the Ethereal version. I can't really see myself ever doing that upgrade, but it does actually seem like a decent one. But if you were to do this, you would probably need to put a Zod Root in it, because obviously it's Ethereal, and it would eventually break. Unless you were putting it on, I don't know, say a Mercenary or something. I don't really see this as being an absolutely great Mercenary weapon, but maybe if you just happen to find an Ethereal version, could be useful on like maybe a Frenzy Barb, the new Frenzy Barb. All in all, I think that the Atlantean is one of those interesting items, which is not really the best item that you could possibly use on your Paladin. But if you didn't have anything better, a lot of the times the Atlantean is freaking epic. And when you find it, you're really excited to find it. And it's a really good weapon for Nightmare difficulty into Hell. And that's really what this weapon is it is a very good Nightmare difficulty weapon, which will help carry your melee character a little bit further. Let's see where we could potentially find this real quick, and we'll go over what monsters you could potentially farm for this item. And assuming, of course, we're around level 42, let's say, for instance, we have probably, I don't know, let's say 150% magic. Fine, that sounds about fair. And let's assume Nightmare difficulty, because we're obviously trying to find this to actually use it. And let's see where we could find this item. So Nightmare Cow King has a pretty decent chance, but you can't actually farm him unless you've killed Bale. A lot of these are at the end of Nightmare difficulty, which is not really where we want to try and find this. Not a lot of good choices here. Not a lot of good choices at all. Check the bosses real quick, and let's see what kind of bosses we've got. So, looks like Mephisto in Nightmare difficulty is really our best bet. If you were a newer Zeal Paladin, you were just kind of struggling through Nightmare difficulty, maybe you're level 40, 45, 50, and you're trying to get yourself a better weapon, Mephisto in Nightmare difficulty seems like the lowest level best choice for farming. There's really not a lot of good choices here, like at all. Like, I'm looking at these choices, and they're all pretty garbo. They're pretty garbage. Just not a lot of good choices at all. This one right here with a 1 in 32,000 chance, and the Palace Cellar level 3 is actually really easy to get to. What you do is you go into the portal, and you actually backtrack. You know what? Let me show you real quick. I'm going to show you guys how this works. So Fire Eye, what's his name? No, not Fire Eyes. Yeah, Fire Eye. So what you do is you go to the Act 2 and you go to Arcane Sanctuary. And then what you do is you walk back through the portal right here. And Fire Eye is usually right through this door. So there's Fire Eye. He's actually really easy to get to and really easy to farm. So if you want to farm him, it does look like Fire Eye might be your best chance for a very easy kill to try and get your hands on an Atlantean early on in Nightmare difficulty before, you know, you go through the entire Nightmare difficulty without it. Other than that, Mephisto in Nightmare difficulty is your second best chance. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're talking about a very nautical sword, the Atlantean. As always, keep watching.